My 30-year-old sister, 26, Millie, has been in a string of bad relationships all her life. She dates unemployed losers, fuck boy types who don't want anything serious, or men who are already in relationships. She becomes overly attached to her partners and then gets heartbroken when these relationships don't end well for her, going so far as to play the victim when another woman called her out publicly for sleeping with her fiancé. Our family always pick up the pieces when her relationships end, and she goes into massive depressive episodes. I love her, but it can be exhausting and she never learns from her past mistakes. Her current partner, 26, falls into the unemployed loser category. He's barely worked in his life and spends most of his time playing video games. Despite this, Millie fell pregnant 5 months into the relationship. They moved in together shortly before the baby was born. He resisted moving out of his parents until the final hour, and they now share a 9-month-old son. They both love the baby, but the relationship is strained. Millie is on maternity leave while he is still unemployed, and furthermore, he doesn't help around the house with the baby or the chores, leading to Millie being stressed and overwhelmed. I try to help out when I can, but I am running my own business and also live an hour away, so the help I can offer is limited. Anyway, I got engaged to my longtime partner on Christmas Eve and announced the news the following day at Christmas dinner as the entire family was attending. Naturally, my family were ecstatic, but while Millie congratulated me, she looked sad/annoyed for the rest of the evening, and it became obvious her mood had soured. This resulted in the family coddling her all night and asking if she was okay, to which she kept on saying, "I'm fine," while clearly being in a mood, refusing to engage in conversations, snapping at people, etc. At one point, she came back from the bathroom and looked as if she had been crying, so I pulled her aside to ask what was going on. She said the announcement of my engagement on Christmas was stealing her thunder, as it was her baby's first Christmas, and her son should be the main focus. She then accused me of rubbing my relationship and happiness in her face, because I knew things were not good with her relationship. This is the part where I might be in but. I got annoyed, called her entitled, and asked why she couldn't just be happy for me. She then accused me of not being supportive of her, and I snapped and said it's not my fault you let some loser knock you up. We all tried to warn you. I was also quick to snap because I feel like every family event since she got pregnant has centered around the same drama with her baby daddy. She ended up storming off and leaving with her baby and partner, and now my parents say I need to be the one to clear the air as the eldest sibling. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Our family always pick up the pieces when her relationships end. What does that mean? She obviously has some mental health issues that needed to be addressed long before now. Did your parents, not you, your parents, work with her to get her into evaluation? Now my parents say I need to be the one to clear the air. Looks like no. Not the idiot. But you need a different strategy, because the same one you've been using, that you learned from your upbringing, isn't working. You don't have to help her out as much as you do. You don't have to engage in her drama. You can go low contact. Your mental health is important too. Comment 2. Not the idiot. The world doesn't revolve around her and her kid. What? Because she has a shitty relationship, you're not allowed to celebrate yours? Don't feel bad for wanting to share your engagement and celebrate. Other people's ongoing dramas become tiresome because, yes, at the end of the day, it is their fault. She could not have got involved with an unemployed loser, not got pregnant. She could end the relationship. Unfortunately, people don't like being told it's their own fault or accept responsibility. To keep the peace, you probably will have to reach out first if you intend on keeping her and nephew in your life. Now, for the update. Hey Reddit. It's been 2 weeks since I last posted about the drama with my sister Millie at Christmas dinner. Buckle up, because things have taken a wild turn. After the blowout, I took some time to cool off before reaching out to Millie. I thought maybe she needed space, but our mom kept pushing me to make amends. So, I drove to her place, hoping we could talk it out. But when I got there, I found her in tears, and her partner was nowhere to be seen. Turns out, he had left her. Just packed his bags and walked out while she was at the grocery store, leaving nothing but a note saying he couldn't handle the responsibility. Millie was devastated, and despite everything, I couldn't leave her alone in that state. I helped her with the baby and the house, and we started talking. She confessed that she knew her partner was a bad choice, but was scared of being alone. She said she felt trapped in a cycle she didn't know how to break. I felt for her. I really did. We spent the whole day together, and it felt like we were kids again, just us against the world. But here's the twist. A few days later, Millie's ex came crawling back. He said he made a huge mistake and wanted to be a family again. I was skeptical, but Millie was over the moon. She took him back without a second thought, and I was worried we were back to square one. Then, the bombshell dropped. Millie's ex had not just been loafing around during their time apart. He had actually inherited a significant amount of money from a distant relative. He'd kept it a secret, even from Millie, because he didn't want people to treat him differently. But now, he wanted to use that money to provide for Millie and their son. I was floored. This was the guy who couldn't hold down a job, and now he was talking about setting up college funds and buying a house. It was like he was a different person. Millie was ecstatic, saying it was a sign they were meant to be together. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I did some digging and found out that the inheritance was real, but there was a catch. The money was in a trust that required him to be in a stable family situation to access it. It seemed like he only came back to Millie because he needed to show he was in a committed relationship. I confronted him about it, and he didn't deny it. He said he did love Millie and their son, but the money was a chance to turn his life around, and he needed her for that. I was angry, but Millie begged me not to say anything. She believed his intentions were good, and that they could make it work. So, I've been keeping the secret, watching them play happy family, while knowing the shaky foundation it's built on. It's been hard to keep my mouth shut, especially when I see how hopeful Millie is about their future. And as for my engagement, it's taken a back seat to all this drama. My fiancé has been incredibly understanding, but I can't help feeling like my big moment got overshadowed by Millie's rollercoaster life. So, that's where we're at. Millie is back with her partner, who's suddenly flush with cash, but possibly for the wrong reasons. I'm trying to be supportive, but I'm also bracing myself for the possibility of it all crashing down again. And through it all, I'm still planning a wedding with the love of my life, hoping that when it's my turn to celebrate, it won't be overshadowed by another crisis. Now for the next story. When I, 20s female, was 7 years old, I lost my parents and was sent to live with my aunt, biological, and her husband, uncle, and his daughter, Kylie. Kylie was 10 when I moved in. She lost her mom when she was 5 or 6, and my aunt had been married to my uncle for a little over a year. So it was a really difficult time for her. But I remember thinking Kylie might understand what it was like a little, but she was very clear from day one that we were not family. One thing that always stood out to me was how Kylie really resented/hated my aunt. My aunt couldn't ask Kylie to do anything without being yelled at. She couldn't do anything nice for her without getting glared at. She'd accuse her of disrespecting her mom by trying to play mom, and accuse her of doing things that she had no right to do. She'd tell my aunt to know her place. My aunt always understood Kylie was grieving, and she pushed my uncle to make sure Kylie got enough time with him, but was also able to talk to him. They had her in therapy as well. My aunt told me once, when I got upset on her behalf, that some people, kids or adults, find it hard to see their living parent move on and have a new relationship after they lose the other parent, and Kylie was struggling. A few months ago, I saw Kylie for the first time in 12 years, and she could not hide her still existing hatred for my aunt. The way she looked at her. I even heard her tell my uncle that my aunt was nothing to her, and all she did was attempt to steal a dead woman's entire family. It made me realize just how strong that resentment can be. I also know from my uncle's sister that Kylie is still furious. My aunt ever tried to ask her to do anything, or issued any kind of consequence for her behavior when she was a kid. The experience of living with them always made me say I didn't see myself ever wanting to date and marry someone with kids. But having seen her hatred for my aunt at 30, knowing she still resents my aunt for even daring to ask her to do something in the home, it made me realize that while it can work, and some people have amazing blended families, it's not for me. A few days ago, I came back home for Christmas, staying until the 28th. My uncle was talking about my boyfriend, and then he asked me about this guy at work, who asked me out a couple of times, and why I never gave him a chance since I thought he was cute, etc. I told him it just wouldn't work, but he kept pushing, and I told him it was because he had kids. He told me that was a strange reason when I want kids, and I said yeah, but after seeing how Kylie treated my aunt, I have decided I would never be a stepmom. My uncle was upset about it and told me I can't write off men with kids for that reason, and he said divorced and widowed parents deserve to find happiness again. I said they do, and I would never say they shouldn't have that, but I do not want to be that for them. He said it was rude for me to blame Kylie. Am I the idiot? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. In all honesty, I agree with your stance too. Becoming a potential step-parent seems genuinely difficult to navigate properly, especially when it's with a widow. If I had to bet, I think your uncle is trying to project his guilt that he didn't stop Kylie from mistreating your aunt for all these years. It's probably not pleasant for him to have confirmation that he's partly responsible for your stance on this matter. He should just be thankful that your aunt was more than understanding and is still with him. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Your uncle's a bit of a, not sure what the word is, narcissist, sociopath, misogynist, but it's concerning that he feels that he and people like him are entitled to be happy. And if that makes the other people in his life miserable, too bad. They should just take the hit because they aren't entitled to their own happiness. Just him. Now for the update. Hey Reddit, back with an update on the whole stepmom situation. It's been a wild couple of weeks since I last posted, and boy do I have some news to share. So after that conversation with my uncle, things got pretty tense. I thought it would blow over, but nope. It turned into a full-blown family drama. My uncle couldn't let it go, and he kept bringing it up every chance he got. It was like he was on a mission to change my mind. Now, let's rewind a bit. Remember Kylie, my cousin who couldn't stand my aunt? Well, she's been a key player in all of this. See, Kylie and I used to be pretty close when we were kids, before the whole family dynamic got messy. We'd have these secret handshakes and shared a love for cheesy horror movies. But as we grew up, we drifted apart, especially after I moved out for college. Fast forward to the present, and Kylie's been reaching out more. She's been going through a rough patch. Her long-term relationship ended, and she's been feeling pretty alone. So, when she heard about the stepmom debate, she decided to weigh in. Kylie and I had a heart-to-heart, and she confessed that she felt guilty about how she treated my aunt. She said that she was just a kid dealing with a lot of pain and didn't know how to handle it. She also admitted that she was wrong to hold on to that anger for so long. But here's the jaw-dropping part. Kylie told me she's been seeing a therapist and working through her issues. And guess what? She actually apologized to my aunt. It was a huge moment for everyone. My aunt, who's always been the peacemaker, accepted her apology, and they've been slowly rebuilding their relationship. Now, back to my uncle. He was still on my case about the whole stepmom thing, but after Kylie and my aunt started patching things up, he began to see things differently. He realized that not every situation is the same, and that maybe he was being unfair to me. So, we had this big family meeting, and my uncle finally backed down. He said he just wanted me to be happy, and that he was sorry for pushing his views on me. It was a relief, to say the least. But here's the compromise that came out of all this drama. My uncle suggested that maybe I could be open to the idea of dating someone with kids, but not rush into the role of a stepmom. He said I could take my time to build a relationship with the kids and see how things go. And you know what? That actually made sense to me. I've been thinking about it a lot, and I realized that maybe I was being too quick to shut down any possibility of being with someone who has kids. I mean, I love kids, and I've always wanted a family of my own, so I agreed to the compromise. I'm not saying I'm going to jump into anything, but I'm open to the idea now. And in a surprising turn of events, Kylie's been super supportive. She's been giving me advice and sharing her own experiences. It's like we're reconnecting, and it feels good to have her back in my life. Now for the next story. My wife and I, 48-year-old man, have a son, John, 26-year-old man, who recently told us that he is asking his girlfriend, Cece, to marry him. We've met Cece a few times before, and she seems like a nice girl, but we have concerns about Cece's family. My wife and I own a few rental properties, and John stays in one of the properties rent-free, as he is still in grad school. Providing free housing for our kids, especially while they are in school, has always been something my wife and I have agreed to, so that they don't have to worry about rent in a high cost of living area. The concern with Cece's family comes from having met them a couple times before. They seem inappropriately interested in our finances, and Cece's mother, from what I've heard from my other kids and a little from John, is close to retirement, has no savings or plans set up for retirement. Her mother has attempted to move in and live rent-free in one of my properties because, according to her, it is her future son-in-law's house. My take is that Cece's mother sees John, who is about to graduate from med school, as their retirement security. John is my oldest, and I've signed a will where he gets a large amount of cash plus the property that Cece's mother was trying to move into. I'm not sure if the mother knows that, and that's why she was trying to move in. But John does know about what he is inheriting. My biggest fear is that somehow that family will end up with a piece of the house for whatever reason once I pass. John has a pure heart and always sees the good in people, and I think his future mother-in-law will take advantage of that. When John told me he is getting married to Cece, I requested that he signs a prenup to protect his inheritance. And also prenups are advisable in general, but he was vehemently against it. I told him that he will be written out of the will and the house will go to our other kids if he marries her without a prenup. But it seems like he is not budging. Therefore, I have gone ahead and started plans to leave the house to my other child. I think I have good reasons to not trust Cece's family and their intentions with my son. I'm not going to tell a grown man who he can and can't marry, but I want to protect what I am leaving for my children. My son has stopped talking to me, and I'm not sure if I was that unreasonable. Update: a few things to add because my concerns about Cece's family are not coming out of nowhere. We are mostly concerned about the house. My son will still be receiving a huge chunk of cash in the will. He will be getting something, just not the house. Sorry. I should have made that clearer. When my wife and I met Cece's mother, she made multiple comments about how her future son-in-law has her retirement taken care of, and she has asked us multiple times if she could move into the house, to the point where it was getting inappropriate. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Trust your gut. Why should you have outsiders come in and take what you worked for? Maybe you want to leave your son a bit of cash, but nothing major that the in-laws could benefit from. It would be interesting to see how things would turn out if the girlfriend's family knew that your son was getting nothing and would not be funding their retirement, etc. Comment 2. Not the idiot. You could do a trust and have a trustee continue to exercise control after your death, or even in your will have a prenup clause. My father did that, where anyone who wants to inherit must have a prenup. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, it's been a week since I last posted about the situation with my son John and his girlfriend Cece, and let me tell you, things have escalated quickly. I appreciate all the advice and support I received last time, and I thought I'd give you all an update on what's been happening. So, after my last post, my wife and I had a long talk about how to handle the situation. We decided to sit down with John and have a heart-to-heart about our concerns. We explained that while we love him and support his relationship with Cece, we were worried about her family's interest in our finances. We brought up the incidents with Cece's mother and her comments about our properties and John's future inheritance. John listened, but he was clearly upset. He told us that he understood our concerns, but he believed that Cece was not like her mother and that she loved him for who he was, not for his potential inheritance. He also mentioned that Cece had been talking about them finding their own place once he finished grad school, which was a relief to hear. However, things took a turn when Cece's mother showed up unannounced at our house a few days later. She had the nerve to ask us directly if we were going to help them with a down payment for a house once they got married. My wife and I were taken aback by her boldness. We politely declined, stating that John and Cece were adults and we were confident they could manage on their own. That's when Cece's mother dropped a bombshell. She claimed that Cece was pregnant. We were shocked. John hadn't mentioned anything about expecting a grandchild. When we asked her for more details, she became evasive and quickly left, saying that we would hear from Cece and John soon. We immediately called John, who was just as surprised as we were. He had no idea what her mother was talking about and assured us that Cece was not pregnant. He was furious at the lie and confronted Cece about it. It turns out, Cece was just as shocked and had no idea why her mother would say such a thing. The next day, John and Cece came over to talk. It was a tense conversation. Cece apologized for her mother's behavior and assured us that she had no intention of taking advantage of our family. She even suggested that they sign a prenup to ease our worries, which was a complete 180 from their previous stance. John was still hesitant about the prenup, but after a lot of discussion, he agreed. He said he realized that while he trusted Cece, he couldn't control her family's actions, and he didn't want to risk our family's assets. We were relieved, but our relief was short-lived. The next day, our youngest daughter, who is close friends with Cece, confided in us that Cece had been receiving expensive gifts from an unknown source. She showed us a designer handbag and jewelry that Cece had recently flaunted, items that were way beyond a grad student's budget. This raised red flags for us, and we couldn't help but wonder where these gifts were coming from. We decided to do a little digging and found out that Cece had been spending a lot of time with one of John's classmates, a guy known for his wealthy family and flashy lifestyle. When we confronted John with this information, he was devastated. He couldn't believe that Cece might be seeing someone else behind his back. He decided to confront Cece about it, and that's when everything blew up. Cece admitted that she had been seeing John's classmate on the side. She claimed it was nothing serious, just some harmless fun, but John was heartbroken. He felt betrayed by Cece and her family. He ended things with her on the spot and told her that he never wanted to see her again. As for the house and the inheritance, John has told us that he doesn't want anything to do with it right now. He's too hurt and needs time to process everything that's happened. My wife and I are just trying to be there for him and support him through this tough time. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.